All right, everyone, welcome back to another special episode of not only the Professional Brotherhood Podcast, but Jeremy.
What's going on, everybody? Jeremy Sanders from the Crew First Culture Podcast.
So this morning, it's a Saturday morning. It's bright and early. It's bright and early. We'll just leave it there. We are recording episode 100 for both of our shows, and we thought it would be kind of cool to get together since it's not very often that things align this way. First of all, it's not very often that our schedules align, and we were just talking about that before we got on the air because seems like Jeremy's schedule is pretty much the opposite of my schedule, and it's just bizarre that we both kind of started this whole podcasting social media journey right around the same time, and Jeremy shot me a message the other day and said, hey, I was just looking at your numbers and I'm sitting right at the same place as you as far as episodes. So we're both going to hit number 100. So we said, you know what? Screw it. Let's get together and do 100 together.
No, it's a very cool thing. Like you said, I think you started, maybe a couple months at the most before I did. And the journey has been up and down and here and there. And you've definitely helped me out along the way because of that couple months of experience more than I did. So I really appreciate what you've done for me along that way. But we had talked on Clubhouse about kind of a funk that us both podcasts, Firehouse Kitchen Table podcast was in, and maybe even a couple more that, just happened to be podcast hosts on the Clubhouse, and everybody seemed to be in the same place. And I believe it was Tara from Flame Decon kind of put out the idea of getting together and doing an episode together just to kind of break out of it. And so that kind of started it. But once I started seeing that you were sitting at 98, I was sitting at 98. I just had one recorded for 99 and you had one as well. And I was like, man, you can't get any better than that. That's pretty cool. So
no, it worked out really cool. And
appreciate you come on.
Kara, sorry, I'm so used to doing the good morning intros or the intros, and Kara's here with us as well. So obviously she has been a big part of a lot of my episodes. So good morning. How are you? Thank you for joining us bright and early this morning. Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. And yeah, we were that's kind of how this did come about. For a while there, it just seemed like it was constantly on the go with talking to people and setting up episodes and finding guests, and people contacted me to be guests, and then all of a sudden it just kind of lulled out for a little while, and which I was okay with that as well, because there comes a time you need a little break. I think from anything you do, it starts to become overwhelming, and this is, I don't want to call this a hobby for any of us. It's a passion, right? The message that we're trying to get out is a passion. It's not a hobby, but there comes a time, I think, where even you need a little rest from your passion to kind of recharge your batteries. Think about the direction that you want to go in, why you started going in that direction in the first place, and just kind of refocus, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if the kind of reopening and that sort of thing, or if people are starting to have a little bit of Zoom burnout or starting to try to get out into the world a little bit more too, has a little bit to do with kind of the drop off.
Could be as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy and I have talked about this before, when I first started this, just over a year ago, I saw what some of the other guys were doing. I watched Jeremy and Rob, the National Fire Radio guys, some of the, Ryan Pennington from Jump Seat, watch what some of these guys were doing. And it wasn't all from behind a screen, it wasn't all Zoom. It wasn't all phone calls. And I'm like, wow, this would be really cool. Nobody's getting out there. There's lots of people podcasting and with different messages, but for my platform, I'm like, there's nobody out there focusing on just the volunteer service. And how cool would it be to get out there and like, go to a firehouse with my recorder and sit down at the kitchen table and have a conversation, or go to a conference like Jeremy, like you were just at, go to a conference and grab some guys and be like, hey, listen, come sit down, talk to me about what you're experiencing here. Why are you here? What are you learning? And then COVID hit and it was like, yeah, all right, we're not doing any of that. We got to do it all from, behind the screen and Zoom calls.
Yep.
And I think what you've just brought up is really a cool deal, is that niche. I don't know if that's an okay way to describe it, but that hole that you are feeling, that you're both feeling in that volunteer arena. And I say that speaking from, just people that have reached out to me about a more volunteer type, question, or just wanting something geared towards that. And it's very easy to steer them right to you guys, because that's, I am a volunteer as well. But I don't say that very much because I don't have a lot of time to put into it. I just don't. And I feel bad for that. I try my hardest, but just like you just talked about this podcast, it's another notch on that list. And when it starts coming to priorities about what's getting done, some of these things get bumped down. And especially with me, I'm already gone a third of the days. One of every 3 days, I'm not here. One of every 3 evenings, I'm not here, dinners and all that. And so it's just hard. But anyway, I don't have the expertise and the knowledge to answer those questions, but I know who does. And that's really cool that I can just send them, one of you two your way, and that feeds that hole a lot better than I can.
Yeah. Well, and I, and we've created, all of us, over the last year, like I said, some of these guys have been doing this for a long time, longer than us, but we've expanded on this community of people that have, a topic that they excel at or are passionate about. And, it's just cool to have people from all over the place that can get together on a platform, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube live, or now Clubhouse, or whatever technology is going to throw at us next. It's just cool to have this community where you can get on with a half a dozen people or more, right, and really throw anything out there, any topic out there, and you're going to get our input from the volunteer world, because that's what we know. We're going to get your input, from where you sit in the fire service, and your experiences with leadership and issues at the station, and growth and family life, and and the balance. And then you have all these other people that that kind of come into the fold, that everybody's got varying years of experience, everybody's got sits in a different place in the world, which makes it so unique, from the East Coast to the Midwest to the West to the South. It's like that's been one of the coolest parts of the ride for me, is talking to somebody from the Midwest, or talking to somebody from this panhandle of Florida, and getting like this completely different, it's the same fire service, but you're like, holy shit.
It's like we're all the same, but there's so many differences and things that I've never come across before, that I probably wouldn't have had the experience to, learn about if it wasn't for doing the podcast.
Yeah. Two things with that conversation that are the most interesting for me. For one is what you're talking about. you do learn a lot. You learn a lot from me being in Oklahoma, in the center of America, from you guys up in the Northeast, very corner, or some Florida boys down way Southeast, or, somebody on the West Coast out there. But also, and I think maybe even more importantly, you learn that you're a lot alike as well.
Yeah.
All the problems that you're dealing with at your department, all the irritations, all the things that you hate about where you're at, or you're griping about where you're at, or you think you're on the worst department in the world. It's like everybody works for the exact same department. It's just bigger or different places. It's so weird how you'll sit and talk about something that you're frustrated about, and you'll just get overwhelmed by other people saying, man, that's exactly where I'm at. And I'm glad you talked about this, because that's what I'm dealing with right now. And it's just interesting that we deal with the same stuff. And it's very good to see that, because that helps me, at least me speaking personally, it helps me to just shut my mouth and get over it, basically, because I'm not the only one dealing with this stuff. I'm not the only one dealing with, people around me that, are causing these type of feelings for me.
Yeah.
I just got to figure out a way to get over it and do what I can. And so that's been a very helpful thing for me to really just kind of get over myself and find ways to keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember the first time I heard somebody say, up at the kitchen table, up at the fire academy, it's, oh, you can change the sign on the front of the building. The problems are all the same. And I remember hearing that for the first time years and years ago, and I've repeated it. I can't say how many times over the years. And, it just goes to show you, it's not a New York thing. It's not a Northeastern thing. It's a fire service thing. And it's 100% true, which is what's been part of what's been so great about doing this, because I mean, look, how many times have you jumped on a platform and said it just dumped what's bothering you, right? And you're like, hey guys, listen, I'm just letting you know that I'm out of it this week. This is what's going on. I'm over it. I'm just fed up with the leadership. I'm fed up with, you with your situation there with your crew and your closet at your station, right? You were to hear with that whole thing, but then you start talking to other people and you walk away from the conversation like, all right, I'll get over it,
Yeah, that, we have all these avenues, all these platforms. Facebook is great for certain things. Instagram is great for certain things. Podcasts are great for certain things. But that is one thing I'm really excited about as far as Clubhouse, is exactly what you just said. It's not me getting on a microphone and talking. It's not even me getting on a microphone with, one or two guests or whatever and talking. Right. You literally get on there, and I've done it several times, just exactly what you just said. Just start out a conversation, and some frustration comes out. But, there's so many people that can join in. There's so many people that are just sitting there listening, and you never know who in that, the audience, I guess is what they call it. But you never know who is needing to hear that, right. Needing to hear that these people are dealing with the same thing I am. Or these people dealt with the same thing I'm going through right now, and they made it through and they're doing great now, or, whatever. And I think it's such a great platform for just kind of building relationships, because it's live. It's on, it's real time. And
yeah.
Anybody can talk, and it's a cool deal.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys a question, and you know me, I don't script anything. So there's nothing, I got all kinds of paper here in front of me. There's certificates, there's whatever, bunch of junk, no highlighters, but no highlighters today. What since either like Jeremy for you starting your platform, or Kara for you getting involved in the platform, what do you feel has benefited you, personally the most, or where do you feel that you have seen the most personal growth from being able to share or get involved with these conversations and being able to meet all these people that we all agree you wouldn't have been able to meet unless you were involved in something like this?
For me, I think one of the interesting things from my standpoint, when I started St. Florian Fitness, I was I didn't really have a lot of connections before I started putting St. Florian Fitness on my social media, my Facebook and my Instagram. And then, of course, you invited me to come on Professional Volunteer, and it was great to just make those connections, to realize there's other people that have the same kind of goals and drive to make connections with people in whether you're career or volunteer, about professionalism, about leadership, and then about, for me, spreading the message of fitness in the fire service and the importance of health and wellness for firefighters all over the world, and the opportunity to be able to come on and talk about that, and recognize that other people are doing it in different corners and we can all work together to boost the message at the same time was
Sure.
very rewarding for me. Because when I first started out, it was a little bit isolating, especially with some of the fitness stuff. It was just kind of coming on to be a thing that people were talking about a little bit more, which is great. And I think it continues to grow. But when I initially started it a few years ago, it wasn't the hot topic necessarily about the fire service. So for
Sure.
me personally, that was really great to be able to spread the message that way and make those connections with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And you're right. It's one of those things that it's wild. It seems like it went from, I mean, fitness on social media has been extremely popular for
Right.
years, but regarding the fire service and
Yeah.
and fitness, you're right. It was like it went from very few people talking about it. You had Pip and
Yep.
the 555 crew and probably a couple of firefighter functional fitness and a couple others. And then all of a sudden it was like, what the hell? It's like every other page in my feed, there's like somebody with a dumbbell in their hands with fire in their name. Like, what, where did it all come from? Like, it's like, boom, just all of a sudden, which is great. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but Jeremy, what about for you?
Man, there's several things that I could definitely pick out very easily. And as soon as you asked that question, I started writing them down so I didn't forget. But just networking, basically finding people to keep that drive going. It is the times that are low for me. I know that I can easily now that I've met so many people, air quote, virtually, I can reach out and get some motivation, get some inspiration, get some drive back out of, this network that has kind of been created. That's a big one. Accountability is huge, because I'm not going to get on here and talk about any of this stuff, leadership wise or passion wise or anything family wise, and not at least try my best to back that up myself. And so me putting this stuff out has been a driving force to get better at the same stuff I'm talking about. And the last one is just hearing people's life stories. Some of my favorite conversations that have been on episodes have been with people that they're well known, but we didn't even discuss the things that they're well known for, like a Chief Starnes. I had him on, man, such an awesome conversation. I don't know that we mentioned the word thermal imaging camera one time in that conversation, which is what he's known for. It was just he's just a great guy. And we just got into life and family and faith and all that, that's the kind of stuff that, man, I love that part of it.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that I've missed the most, out of kind of taking this break. So those are the biggest things for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna I'm going to agree with you. I think the networking has been tremendous, and I'm going to expand on the networking a little bit. Even though I have met and gotten, excuse me, friendly with a lot of people, that's been the cool part for me. It's not just people on the screen. Where granted, where I haven't, like, you and I have never met in person, although we've talked to each other a bunch of times, probably 100 times. Kara and I have we've met in person once, okay, and we're in the same state. I mean, we're only 3 hours apart from one another, but we've met once in person. But to me, it's a big deal. I tell the guys at the firehouse all the time that you got to expand your network. You got to get out. You got to get out of Rock Hill. You've got to get out of our county. You've got to get out of our state. Whether it's going to the county training center to work with other people from within our county, or it's going to the state training center to work with people from around the state, or going to a conference where you're going to meet people from other states. You got to get out. You got to meet people. That's going to keep you fired up. That's going to keep you loving what you do. And for me, that's been a big part of this. And to add to that, now all of these people or a good handful of these people are not just, you guys are not just faces on a screen. Like, I have your phone numbers in my phone. I can call you, I can text you, Jeremy Donch, Rob Ridley, Pip, Sean, Sean up in Buffalo. Like, these are Ryan Pennington. Like, these are all people that are phone numbers in my phone that I can legit pick up the phone and not just message them on Facebook. I can send them a text message and they're going to respond to me, and they're going to get back to me, and they're going to share their experiences and whatever I'm dealing with, and that's just such a big deal, and that for me has been probably the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. You got something, Kara? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, we always say, like, the fire service is such a small world. It seems like, it's like 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows somebody, and you have all these connections that you make within the fire service. But it also can be very isolating, especially to your point, Jeremy, if you have firefighters that are struggling with issues in their home department. It can feel like that is the only thing that is going on, that when you're going through that and you're struggling with it, it feels like that is only happening to you. That is only happening in your department. That is, it can be very isolating. And because of, politics, or because of how sensitive the issue might be, it can be really hard to get a broader view. And I think that these kind of platforms have really allowed people to be able to reach out and talk and say, well, I can get out of my own department and get an objective view, in this way, talk to others where you might not otherwise have had that opportunity, depending on where you are geographically even.
Yeah. And one of the other things, and I talked about this on the mutual aid episode I put up last week when I was talking about attitude, one thing that people need to understand is, when you've been doing this for as long as I have, and it's hard to believe it's been that long sometimes, but when you've been doing it for this long, you learn from your mistakes. And I say all the time, I have made plenty of mistakes, right? I have rubbed plenty of people the wrong way over the years and have handled things not in the most professional way. But you learn from those mistakes and you learn how to handle things. And, one of the things I talked about was attitude. We all have those people that we deal with that just always have the negative attitude. They're always bitter. It's like, you wonder why they even do the job, because they always look so damn miserable doing the job, and it took me a long time, because there was plenty of times where I would come home after being at the firehouse or being at a drill or being at a fire. You can ask my wife and bitch and moan and be like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Or this guy's a prick, or that guy's an asshole, or whatever it is, But now I've just kind of adopted what I talk about, when somebody is just miserable and you can tell that, like, I just smile more, because, like, I know it drives them absolutely bananas, to see somebody in a good mood, enjoying what they're doing. And I'm like, you know what, bro, whatever, you're having a bad day. I'm sorry to hear that. If you got something to talk about, I'll be happy to talk about it. But if you're miserable just for the sake of being miserable, like, I'm going to smile, enjoy what I'm doing. And it is what it is,
Yeah. I think, I'm sitting here as both of you are talking. I think to a point, I can honestly say that Crew First culture has kind of saved my career, and I'll kind of just put detail to that. But before I had done any of this, I was in a pretty dark place. I was very frustrated. I was very angry and resentful at my department, and I was coming close to being that guy that you're talking about.
I remember the first few times we talked, I remember the first couple of times you and I talked, and you were like, you didn't have a lot of good to say, but you were coming over that, you were breaking over that hump per se,
I needed outlets. I needed good outlets to send that passion and those, my message. I was not able to do that at my department, and it's just started like bottling up inside. I wanted to do something leadership wise and all this, and I couldn't do it. Well, if I didn't start all this, I probably would have been somebody that starts shooting out hateful emails and, getting in trouble and exactly what I wanted to do. All of that would have eroded every bit of it. It would have tore my message apart. And so finding, I started out writing articles and then started out in, getting into social media, and then took a very big leap for me and started a podcast, because that's not something that personally I would have ever thought that I would like. And it's just, whatever, everything else. And it's just been great to have outlets to get that out, now. Yeah, I have times where I get frustrated and I look at some things that I put out and think, there's definitely some tones of irritation maybe there. But yeah, like you said, when I first started, it's like, like I said, I started with articles, and I guarantee you, looking at some of those articles, it's like, there's definitely some intensity to that. And I'm just glad that I've kind of figured out a way to get some of that out.
But that's realistic too, right? That's real life. I mean, that's the thing that sucks about social media is it's the highlight reel, and everybody refers to it as the highlight reel, so you're being real, you're sharing what's really going on. Look, I remember the first couple of times, I think one of the first episodes we recorded together, talked to you, were like locked in your closet or something. You were like literally you were literally sitting in your closet because you said, the kid, there was stuff going on with the kids and there was stuff going on in the house, and you were like, look, this is the only quiet place I can find in the house. I'm literally sitting in the closet right now. But that's real life. That's relatable. It's not, I mean, people don't see the behind the scenes. Even this morning, we were supposed to do this with the kitchen table guys. We were all supposed to get together and record it. And, they're newer in the podcasting world. But they had some real life stuff with family to deal with and had to bail early this morning, so we're having the conversations. Well, do we want to go on? Do we want to not go on? And then, Kara's messaging me, I got stuff to do this morning. Well, I got stuff to do this morning. We've all got stuff, that's going on. That's life. I mean, we're not different than anybody else, and then you and I are messaging. We're like, well, yeah, we can postpone, but this is what my schedule looks like for the next week. And this is what your schedule looks like for the next week. It's just, it's all over the place.
Take what you got and go with it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. When Jeremy's talking about like looking back on, the articles that you wrote and like where your head and your mind space was at that time, and then we're all talking about like, wow, I felt isolated, or I didn't realize that other people were having these same kind of issues. It felt like it was only happening to me. Don't you think that's so indicative of wellness and mental health in the fire service?
Yeah.
And how isolating it can be, and how there's not really a vehicle for, I think it's like fitness is becoming more prevalent and talked about now, which is needed and so important. Sure. But I think it's just so I mean, when you look back, Jeremy, and it seems like, well, this was an opportunity, an outlet for me to vent about it. I had that experience of writing about it and getting it out that way, because you didn't, necessarily feel like there was a vehicle for it within the department, So I think that I think that's really global. And I think that it's definitely something that's happening for firemen all over the place, that there's not necessarily that outlet. And so when you can make these connections with people and you have somebody that you can reach out to, I think that has so much value.
Yeah. And like Chief said earlier, I cannot echo it enough of what he said about you have to get out of your department, or you have to get out of your little circle. Yeah, it is so important, because just speaking for me, I work for a department that it's very closed. We don't do a lot of outside training unless you are seeking it out on your own, and you're doing it on your own, which, okay, whatever. I don't care. I'm at the place right now in my life that, okay, I will find the money and I will take the vacation time and whatever. But if you're coming on new, or you got a few years on and you haven't worked with anybody like that, they just don't realize what's out there. So much knowledge from some of these conferences, these online classes, just anything, podcasts. It's amazing the amount of growth I have achieved away from my department. It's hard for me to even think about where I would be skill wise or leadership wise or anything if I just stayed in the mentality of what I need is here. You know what I mean? And so reading books and everything else I just said, it has been an amazing tool for growth for me. And I want to say it over and over again. If you have not experienced that, you've got to do it, and not just for that, but for what you just said, Kara, and what we talked about already, is that networking and finding out that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. There are so many people out there that will and are so willing to support you and be with you and help you. You just gotta look, and man, it's out there. Just spread your wings a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and you're right. There are so many people that just kind of lock themselves in their bubble. They think that their bubble is the only way, right? And I don't know. They almost look down on exterior influences, outside influences, and it's crazy. I mean, you can only. I mean, you can only hear the same voice so many times. You eventually you want to hear it. You want to hear a different voice. You want to hear a different opinion. You want to see a different way of doing things. Whether you're going to adopt that way of doing things or not, maybe you're going to take something as whatever, as simple as a hose load. Not that hose loads are simple. We could talk about that for 12 hours, but but take something as simple as a hose load. All right. So maybe the way that they just showed you at the conference that you went doesn't work for you and your department 100%, but maybe 50% it works. So maybe you can adapt it to a way that's going to work for you guys, but it's still a different method. It's still a different tool, and that could apply to anything in the fire service, right? Anything that we do.
I think sometimes I've had the experience of some leadership not wanting to necessarily learn somebody's different way of doing things, just because they think that their way is the only way, or that kind of old school, like, this is how we do it, this is how we've always done it kind of thing. And that's it, and so we don't want to expose our, crew to other ideas, because that can be dangerous to our line of thinking. And that is, that's a level of leadership that I struggle with, because, if you don't have self-reflection and you can't say that there's a different way to do things or different ways to learn, or even if you go and see something and you watch them do it and you're like, oh, that's great, and it works really well for them, and it works well for the type of engine they have, and it works well for the type of crew that they're running, but it wouldn't work for us. there's still value in it. It's just so that closed mindset of, I don't have anything to learn. I don't have anything to gain by going outside of my comfort zone is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's one statement that I wish that we could ban in the fire service, it's what you just said. Yeah, that's the way it's always been done. That's the way we've always done it. That I hate it. And something that's kind of scary to me is that mentality that you're talking about, Kara, that we know everything we need to know. We have everything set up perfect. It's always worked. And so we don't need to go out and learn anything else. That is a scary mentality, because you're not figuring anything out. You don't know what is wrong with your department if you don't kind of go out and see other ways that are better. And like you both have said, this might not work because a guy from New York City is teaching this class, and I work for a department that has less people on the entire department than one of his districts, but I can learn different things from it. And it's just a scary mentality if you are unwilling to reach out and learn.
Well, and listen, and I just heard this. I tend to listen to other people's podcasts when I'm either in the car or mowing my lawn. Like those are my times, right? And I was listening to Corley Moore's podcast yesterday when I got home from work and I'm mowing the lawn. Firehouse Vigilance, and he's got Weekly Scrap, and he's got so many great guests on. I don't even remember who I was listening to. I don't even remember who I was listening to. I'm going to be 100% transparent and tell you guys I don't remember who the guest was, because he always has a good one. But something along those lines was said in that episode, was that we all trained for like our little piece of the pie, like our home turf, our district, but we all go mutual aid to other districts. And like for me, I mean, my first due area is, it's all pretty much the same. Sure, there's a little commercial, but it's mostly residential. But we go a lot of mutual aid to our neighboring district, which has a little bit of everything, right? And has all kinds of different things that you could experience. Well, if you're not training for the response that you could take in when you're sitting on a cover assignment at the district next door to you, that's where you're going to end up getting caught with your pants down, right? Because you're going to get sent to something that you're like, oh, I never thought we'd see anything like this. Well, you know what? In your first due area, you might never see anything like that, but in the next due, your mutual aid area, you could very well. So it kind of, you listen to these different points of view, these different stories, you get out and experience these different things, like we've been saying since the beginning, and you're like, it's eye-opening. You're like, holy crap, I never thought of that, and that's why I tell people to, like we've all just continued to say here, to get out and experience different things, listen to different people, spread your wings, as you put it.
I'm up here in central New York, which is in the middle of the state.
Right. The middle of the state.
Just the way I always like to just make that.
It's very delineating, Jeremy, just in case you didn't know, it's very delineating lines here in New York State as to what's where, you have to really define yourself very, very well.
Big state, more than just New York City, and more than just slightly north of New York City, the whole world up there.
I thought New York City was New York State. I thought they were the same thing.
That's what everyone thinks. Right?
Right.
But in my area, I have it's kind of unique because I'm volunteer on my department, but we are for our mutual aid areas. I have an immediate mutual aid area that's career that we go to frequently, and then I have rural, smaller departments that we're also automatic mutual aid for.
Sure.
That maybe only have like one or two guys, and like these guys that are used to operating at that level all the time, where they're just like chronically short staffed, and they just are, that's just how they run, and but then we go to a career department that's staffed and manned, and I have both, and it's like, so you can't have that narrow view that I can only learn the way that my department does things, because that's not going to be effective to serving the community that we're responding to.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I just along those lines, the dynamicness of what we do is so wide and broad that you can never say I'm going to be ready for everything. You just can't, if you're honest and all that. But my main goal is that I'm growing every day, some type of growth in some area. And if I do get caught with my pants down, like you said, if I get in a situation that I'm just overwhelmed or don't really am not prepared for, it's not going to be because I haven't tried my best to, prepare myself. And so that's just kind of the mindset I have. Am I going to be ready for every single thing that's going to come up? Probably not. But I'm going to try my best to stay as sharp as I can so that those situations are very, very limited. That's kind of the mindset I take.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we are streaming this live on the Facebook page, and there are some people actually up drinking their coffee, listening to us this morning. So I just want to, now I kind of feel like Corley a little. I don't know how the hell he does all this stuff at the same time. I don't either, man. But anyway, so Cameron Bowman said, "Hey Chief, Don Calaruso, that's Don from All Hands down in Jersey, said congratulations on 100. Eric Lubnetsky, he was one of our guests. He's a former volunteer up here by me and FDNY brother. Congrats on 100. Marco Asomi, and I'm probably going to butcher some people's last names, so I apologize for that if you're listening ahead of time. It happens to me every day. Good morning, everyone. Happy to catch it live. Jeremy is one of the most genuine people out there. There
Appreciate
you go.
That, Marco.
Marco also said, I say the same thing on my department about getting outside our 108 square miles. They look at me like I'm crazy. You want me to give up a Saturday? I asked them to just give me one Saturday a year so you can meet someone new and learn something. Absolutely. Great point. And that's a good way to go about it. Just, give me one day a month, something, whatever it is. Kevin King, congratulations on 100. Kevin, thank you. Kevin's been here since the beginning, listening and sharing. Here's to many more. Billy Kiola, I know I'm butchering that one. Sorry, Billy. Happy 100th episode, y'all. Nice to see Jeremy back on here as well, since he's who got me hooked on your message last year.
There you go.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate that. And let's see, Marco said one more thing here. I have to be careful. I find myself spending more vacation time on classes than I should be. Can't forget about the family. Yeah, you are correct. And PJ Covert, PJ is another one of our Jersey brothers, says congrats on 100. And PJ, thanks for getting up and joining us this morning. I'm sure you would much rather be enjoying the fresh air of Jersey down there doing something else. So I'm sure he'll have a response. But so all right, what else? That's cool. Thanks for joining us, everyone, because that was a last minute. I literally said to Jeremy as we were logging in, waiting for Kara to get on, I said, I'm going to throw this up on Facebook Live and see what happens.
Thanks for the heads up on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I did. I gave you a heads up. You weren't on yet.
I was like, I'm like literally open my computer. You're like, we're live. Oh, Jesus.
Listen, adapt and overcome. Right?
I'm here.
You are here. Yep. You don't have your same normal background. We're getting a good view of your little tchotchkes and stuff behind you.
I'm in the kitchen.
The china cabinet.
Yeah.
The beautiful background.
Yeah.
I was having technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on, but I had to move rooms.
Yeah.
Oh well, you're getting the grand tour.
Yeah. So what else? Let's see. What else can we?
Something I think is really exciting, and we've talked about platforms and different things like that. And something I think is really, really exciting is when you see. Kara says she came from the fitness mindset. That's kind of what got her started. I'm like a leadership kind of. That's what got me started.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, you're probably leadership, the volunteer mindset, we all have our little areas that you got kind of involved and started. Well,
Sure.
if you look at social media now, it's almost like there's different categories. You know, you have the fitness categories of pages, you have the leadership, the tactics, the skills, or the mental health. There's
Yeah.
lots of pages in these subcategories. But what I get most excited about is when you have these subcategories working together and
Yeah.
bringing those completely different groups of people together. It's just amazing the power that is, because the fitness community, it's huge.
Mhm.
And you, with fitness, the cool thing about that is you're going to get a lot of other people besides firefighter people in
Right.
that, because it's just fitness is fitness. And then when you add in like next next rung and I got your six just
Yeah.
did a kind of a collaboration event
Right.
this past week. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you have that fitness community and you also have that mental health community, or those people working for that, and you put them together, and man, that's powerful stuff right there. And I love seeing that, because that's when you really kind of compound the effects that we can do here.
Sure. Sure. And it's just, as you meet people and as you grow and as you network, um, you find different avenues to continue to share your message. I mean, Kara gets out and does some in-person, well, she's getting back out and doing some more in-person stuff at firehouses, helping develop fitness programs, and there's only so much you can do online.
Yeah.
There's only so much motivation you can do online. But being able to get out and get into a station and help create a program or help get them started, or what have you, you're starting to get out, and to some of these, I learned a new word the other day, micro conferences. I didn't know they were called micro conferences, these little small conferences that are popping up all over the country, which I think are phenomenal. We've got a couple of them here in the Northeast, but not as many as seem to be popping up in like the West and the Midwest and the South. And I'm kind of hoping that trend changes, because I'd love to see more of these smaller conferences popping up all over the place that are, a little bit more affordable for people, a little bit easier to get to. But you're getting out and spreading your message, right, at a couple conferences coming up, which is phenomenal. We pieced our class together about volunteerism and setting volunteers up for success, and we're hoping to we've got a couple dates scheduled to roll that out and spread that message. So it's you just got to be, you can't be afraid to put yourself out there, and I think that's another nugget that we need to share. Some people look at folks like us, and I know I've talked to Jeremy and Rob from National Fire Radio about this before, about like the haters. People don't, there's people out there that aren't going to look at three people on a screen and be like, I wonder what it took for them to just put themselves out there and start talking about what they were passionate about. Instead, they're like, oh, who the hell do they think they are? Who those three people think that they are? It takes a lot to step up and be like, I think I got something to share, and I'm just going to throw it out there, and if somebody wants to listen, somebody wants to listen. But you watch the progression. Like you said, you started with writing some articles that maybe were a little on the angry side, but whatever, that developed into what you're doing now, and it just will keep on developing, which is a great thing to see, and it's beneficial to everyone in the fire service. I mean, for me, I don't care about the numbers. I don't care if we put this up and 50 people download it or 2,000 people download it. I would rather that 50 people download it, that they relate to it.
They need to hear it.
Right. They need to hear it. Like 50 people listen to this message and they're like, wow, what Jeremy just said impacted me, or what Kara just said impacted me, or what, Marco said in the chat comments. Holy crap. that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my firehouse, and I'm going to try and get our crew once a month to go out somewhere else and do some training other than here. You know, I think that's the big, that's the big thing. And I think that's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
I've gotten some people, of course, some people just say mean things anyway, but some people have said to me before, like, why are you posting your workouts on your page? Like, you should be making money from it, whatever. You shouldn't be posting them because you're not getting nobody's paying you to do it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, that's not why I started it. If I have some firefighter somewhere in an area where, and especially with COVID, that they didn't have access to a gym, and I can show them, like, here's what you can use at your station to get yourself in shape and get yourself healthy. If I reach, one person and it helped them, that's why I'm doing it. I mean,
Sure.
I offer, services that I charge for, but the message in the page is there to help people that are in the fire service to, stay healthy and be well and be able to do the job. So, the putting yourself out there and then having to risk what people think of it, or if, some people maybe don't think that it's a good program, or don't think that there's any value to it. That's okay, because if there's that one guy that said, what, I really need to look at myself and get myself back in shape because I'm blowing through a bottle in 5 minutes and I can't go up the stairs and I can't get my partner out. I can't even lift, my own weight, much less somebody else's. And he makes positive changes. That's the mission. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the haters, and I'm not doing it for the people that are, judging me on every little, like, lighting of the pictures and what, like, that's not why I'm doing it.
Your filter, you're not
filter. Why didn't you use a filter? Why did you use a filter? Why do you use this curling bar instead of an Olympic bar? Like, who cares? I'm moving weight. Like, that's the point,
Right,
I'm using what I have available to me, like.
Right. Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you. I mean, look, anybody can comment on anything that, I mean, people will find something, whatever, I mean, I've had people send crazy comments, some amazing comments, and then like the most bizarre comments, like, like, why is there horns in your background? Well, because I hunt. Yeah, what to tell you? Well, I'm anti-hunting. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. But it's just crazy. PJ chimed back in. He said, "There's nothing better than spending time on the beach watching episode 100."
Nice.
So yeah, good for you. Good for you.
So to go back to the, you brought up the micro conferences. Something that is great about those is, you have these big names, in the bigger conferences, you got big name presenters, and they're big names for a reason. They got some great presentations, but you go to these smaller arenas, and man, there are a lot of talented speakers that you never heard of. A lot of inspirational people that you're going to find at those places that you're not going to find anywhere else. And that's a cool deal, because man, there's a lot to learn from not only the big names, but there's a lot to learn from these more up and coming people as well.
Well, it's about being relatable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you talked to John Ford, right? So you've talked to John, I've talked to John on the podcast, and one of the things that I loved talking to John was, and he came out and said it. He said, when did he realize that he had a message, or he had something to talk about? He was at a conference, listening to one of those great big names who are phenomenal people to listen to and have, great lessons and stories to tell. But he also realized that 90% of this does not apply to me. Like, like, it's great. It's good knowledge, but it's not nothing I'm going to take back home, because it just doesn't apply to me and my small rural paid department that, on a first alarm assignment has 10 guys if we're lucky. And and it's true. I mean, nothing against, like you said, nothing against that speaker or that conference, because these guys are there for a reason. They're a wealth of knowledge and have a great message to tell. But it is cool to be around some of this talent that is out there that is really, really good at what they do, but where they do it is just more relatable to you and where you're at in your life or your department.
Yeah.
I got one more message here. Let's see. Who's this? This is PJ, and he's not talking about being on the beach on this one. He says, speaking about haters, we have a big turnout in seasonal membership. So he's on the northern Jersey shore down there. So they have a big turnout in seasonal membership. So the senior guys are just the member themselves, show the new members how to operate stretching lines, SCBA or whatever. Other departments started making memes about us and posting them on social media. Well,
I think
it's a fickle world, the fire service world.
what PJ you need to learn, or what you need to know, is something that I believe we probably both got told and heard it at the same time. Our friend John Sahatchin, when we were together, and I still think about it all the time. He said that if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons and in the right way, and you can answer yes to all those questions, sorry, I don't.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't have anything else to say.
Who cares?
If I can answer yes to those 3 questions, then I'm going to keep going. And if you don't like it, you can turn the page or the channel or whatever else.
Yeah. And you know what? And look, that's a common fire service problem, what he's experiencing, right? Because some departments, it's highs and lows, and especially in the volunteer departments, right? It's highs and lows. You can be riding the wave, taking all kinds of new members. Your membership is great. Everybody's training, you're getting all your alarms in, whatever. And then sometimes whatever, you have a weekend where everybody's on vacation. It's the middle of the summer. Everybody decides to take a vacation at the same time. And, you have to resound or go mutual aid to respond to a call, whatever it may be. Yeah. People like to dwell on the negative, instead of looking at a department like that realizes, wow, we've got a huge seasonal population here. Where are all these people coming from? Are they coming from New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania? Are they already trained as firefighters? How can we capitalize on that? Because I'm sure their call volume doubles in the summer where he's at. I don't know. I'm just kind of spewing here, but I'm sure, there's communities on the Jersey Shore where their call volume spikes hugely in the summertime, So instead of other departments looking at that and saying, wow, these guys are on to something here, they're using this talent that's in their community for the summer and they're boosting their ranks, that's genius. Oh no, we'll just make memes about it. We'll make fun of them, because that's, because it's easier, not, and instead of saying, wow, you guys are really onto something. Can you tell us how you set that up so we can do the same thing? They're like, oh no, we're going to talk crap about them on the internet because, that's what firefighters do. What's that phrase about? I don't know. There's a saying, something about firefighters and change and whatever. I don't know, whatever. But all right, what else? Let's we should start wrapping this one up. It's a Saturday. I know everybody's got places to be. Kara, would you like to start the wrap up?
Yeah, I just I thank everybody for listening to the podcast and for following us on social media, all 3 of us. And I just encourage folks to reach out and interact with us, because that's one of the greatest things that we all, love. And I love the feedback, love to make those connections, and love to help out our brothers and sisters, in the fire service, because that's what we're all here. And that's why we're all doing this. So, thank you for listening and tuning in, and definitely keep the feedback and comments coming, good or bad. I got broad shoulders.
Absolutely. Jeremy?
Yeah, same. I really appreciate, the involvement that I've gotten, the feedback I've gotten, the, people that have reached out while I took a break and just kind of checked on me, said that, whatever. It's been really humbling. I did not plan on taking a break, but I'm glad that it happened, and some good has come from it. So thank you for that. Thank you for being patient, and hopefully we're going to pick up the momentum where it was and keep going. One more thing before we stop, I want to mention that you talked about Corley Moore earlier.
Yeah.
He's putting together a benefit conference for some fallen firefighters in Oklahoma, and they've got a giveaway right now. Him and I are working together to give away a couple passes. So if you have not seen that, go to Honor the Fallen Fire Conference. It's on Facebook, and you'll find that post and it'll tell you what to do. But that's for 2 full passes to the whole conference. So great opportunity right there to get some great training. There's some great people coming to present at that, and some great hot classes, and it'll be a good time. So if you can make it to Oklahoma at the end of June, get on there and put your name down, or share it with somebody that might be able to do that. So wanted to say that for sure, to get that the word out for that. But I appreciate, I love, and we've talked this whole time about, I love reaching out and meeting new people. So I thank you both for your friendship and kind of helping me along my journey, and everybody out there for taking time out of their life and their days to listen to me ramble, and just look forward to seeing where it goes from here. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And I'll second that. And, I think I can speak for both of us that, the amount of people that we have, or all three of us for that, the amount of people that we've met along this journey, and some have been, very, very involved in the growth of the podcasts, whether it's behind the scenes or coming on as a guest. You mentioned John earlier. I mean, John was very, very instrumental in the first, few episodes. He was my first guest, the first person that reached out to me and was like, "Hey bro, I love what you're talking about. I'd love to come on and, offer some insight." And, we did quite a few episodes together, and, he's in a place now where he's got to grow in business, he's got to grow in family, he's buying and flipping and selling and moving houses. So life gets in the way, and but I don't forget those people and what they have done, for me, and for the growth of the podcast and the platform. And like Kara said, the ability to talk to people, network to people, like we've said, just have somebody reach out, whether it's a question or, just their experience. I really encourage everyone to keep on doing that, because that's what makes all of our platforms grow and continue to grow, and it's a community, right. Sure. Jeremy Sanders started Crew First Culture. Sure, I started the Professional Brotherhood, but it's a community of people, and if we didn't have the community, it would be a very short-lived journey. So I just want to again thank everybody for their part in it, and I don't think any of us would get to 100 episodes without people being a part of that journey. You're all a part of it, and we thank you very much. And just keep doing what you're doing. Keep reaching out, keep chiming in, and keep sharing your input with us. We truly appreciate it. So. All right, everyone. Thanks for getting up early on a Saturday and doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
And
this will be on a lot of platforms, right, Jeremy? We're going to share this on both the podcasts.
Yeah.
It's already live on Facebook. We'll share that on the Crew First Culture Facebook, and then we'll get it up on YouTube and everywhere else. So anyway, if you were tired of us before, you'll be tired of us when we get done sharing this. So. All right, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.